Hello, I am Shushai Adane. Tigray had been going through all the blood, sweat, and tears to ensure its fundamental right to self-determination. The same is true today. It is working round the clock to hold the sixth election at regional state level, irrespective of the challenges from the federal government from here and there. The Regional Council has recently established a new electoral commission for this purpose. My guest today is Muluwork Kidanemariam, the commissioner of this new electoral commission of Tigray regional state. Stay with us. Congratulations before anything, Muluwork.
Thank you.
Okay, just tell me how it feels to be appointed, or elected at this very critical or decisive time for such a critical duty.
In the past, the election board, the National Election Board of Ethiopia, has been managing all elections in the country, in all regions. Since the time of October, I think the government also, which is in power today, has been promising that it was to conduct an election process in the normal times without adding any single day or any in general. But after a time, there wasn't any way that it was conducting this election because no arrangements or organizations have been, no preparations have been made. So the Tigray regional state repeatedly demanded for the respect of the constitution. And this was the differences between the central and the Tigray regional state. But this was not an idea of the Tigray alone, but there were other regions as well, whether they were powerful or not is something else. So in between, therefore, the country entered into a different stage when it reached up to February, when there were no any preparations at all, but there emerged the COVID-19 problem. So the COVID-19 issue was raised, and there was a difference between the political forces saying that this is a pretext, or when some of them were saying that this is a pretext for extending the election, and others were saying, yeah, it was a real cause. So the political forces were divided into two ultimately. But when it comes to Tigray, therefore, Tigray demanded for the respect of the constitution, and this constitution says that election must be conducted after 5 years of the incumbent government. However, therefore, there was a certain crisis in the center, and therefore the federal government called for certain professionals, legal professionals, to give an interpretation on the constitution on whether there was a possibility to extend it, and supporting the justifications presented by it in terms of COVID-19. Tigray rejected this. There was no way that the constitution gave a right for extending it. And if this is to happen, therefore, either there must be a provisional government that was to be established by the different political forces, or then there is no way to extend a time for the existing government, or it was said. So these problems in between the two led Tigray to finally conduct its own election according to the constitution.
At regional state level?
At the end of the 5th year. Then Tigray legally applied for the National Electoral Board to oversee the election process that it was to conduct in its own region. But the board replied that Tigray cannot uphold the election. So in terms of Tigray, or in the eyes of Tigray, then the board was not to decide for conducting or not conducting an election.
It's not authorized.
It is the constitution that allows. So it is a constitutionally given right for Tigray. Then it can and it must make its own election process. But the board's function is to oversee that, and if it does not become willing to oversee this, then Tigray has no option but to establish its own
commission.
Electoral commission. So it was on the basis of that this electoral commission has been established or organized. But the election or the establishment of this organ has not been easy. First, there was no any proclamation that was made because previously it was given to the national one. So in the refusal of the national, then Tigray was to elect its own regional electoral commission. So this has been decided by the regional People's Council. And a proclamation was made. According to that proclamation, then, in terms of the procedure set by, then a certain process has been conducted. That is, a certain people or organizations have been selected, about 10 or more than that. So 10 persons have been elected from the civic associations, religious chambers, journalists, and many other associations. So they elected 10 persons for the appointment, or simply for the selection of 10 persons from the public. So the public gave the names of 10 persons to this committee. But the process has been, in the beginning, about 775 persons have been mentioned to the committee. Out of these 775, then the selection process was conducted on the basis of the criteria set by it. Then finally 10 persons who have been non-partisan in political orientation, who were considered to be able to organize this, have been nominated, and these were the names of people have been presented to the government. So the government chose 5 from this 10, and this was presented to the parliament or the council
of the
So the state council then endorsed these 5 persons and established the commission itself. So from about 15 July, I think, or that is 9 Hamle of, in terms of the Ethiopian calendar, then we have been appointed and given the function. Therefore, so it is since then that we are now taking our responsibilities.
Okay, but you didn't tell me. My question was, of course, how did you feel to be appointed for this duty at this very critical time of critical events? Just to know your feeling, because you are the commissioner of the first ever new commission of the regional state, right?
Yeah. That this was
because this is historic event. That's the point.
No, this is not. As for me personally, I don't have any. I have not had any ambition, or I was not having any feeling. But I recognize that this was a heavy task. So a heavy task of managing a certain election in a region where the federal government has been saying no to election, but the regional government has been saying yes to election. So I am a member, a citizen of this country, it's true, and I am a member of this community as well. So I am an academician, and I have been helping my people in different sources. So when I'm given this responsibility, on one way it is a heavy responsibility, But it is an honor also to me to be present in this historic event. So I wish that many other people also could come and observe this process, because in my mind, I am going to carry out my task in a responsible way. That's what I am idealist for. Therefore, I know that there are going to be many burdens on my shoulder, and I have also good people with me. All of them are helping, and therefore, so I think I will overcome my responsibility.
Okay, let's be back to the agenda we already started. You said establishing this electoral commission at regional state level was not as such simple. You said it's clear, yeah. And at the same time, you said one of the factors behind was there was no proclamation, right? In this regard, the Speaker of the House of Federation has recently written a warning letter to the government of Tigray, indicating that Tigray must soon refrain from conducting the election at regional state level. As to the Speaker of the House of Federation, it is against the Constitution. So, which of you is legal and constitutional? Which decision is legal or constitutional? That's the point.
Now, this is, had I considered that this was illegal, so you can imagine that I was not enjoying it. I believe that this is legal. To have people who have said that it is illegal is, I mean, are they talking about the law or the politics? So politics is different. So if it is their political position, because taking this political course will not be for their benefit, then this is politics. But in terms of law, Tigray is a regional authority, therefore. So Tigray has paid much blood for the realization of this objective. It was the foremost region that has carried the 17 years bloody war, so that it has sacrificed many thousands of people for the sake of this. And we have several thousands of wounded and disabled people because of this. Therefore, this is one thing. So it was as a result of this process that the constitution has been reared. Now, would you accept simply that the constitution will become null and void because of the whim of certain persons or something like that, or groups, then that you will simply undermine what you have paid for? So this is not to simply put your interest as a burden to others, but we are talking about Tigray's interest. So Tigray fought for its own self-determination. Then this was unique even in its aspect. Self-determination, the right of nations to self-determination up to secession, it says. But I don't think that, maybe there are some groups now who are saying that's secession, but I have never heard that the government was raising this issue in general. So Tigray has been within Ethiopia itself, but why does it need to permission from the center in order to elect its own president or something like that? Is it not democratic for any society to put or to put down or to raise its leaders according to its own desire, so long as it is democratic? Therefore, who is going to witness for Tigray to conduct its own affairs? Now, Tigray has never demanded others to do the same. It's not imposing its own will, so that they can carry it for 20 years or for 30 years. It's up to them. So it is according to the needs of their own people. But in Tigray, the people have paid the sacrifice in order to bring this kind of government, changing their own leaders every 5 years according to the constitution set in. So when you are talking about the constitution of the country, Tigray has also its own regional constitution. Then this constitution is working in Tigray. So it is based on the interests of the people of the region that Tigray is a member of this federation, therefore. Nobody forced it after that. Yes, there was an imperial rule. So the order was a different thing. But now it is a different system. We are saying that this is a democratic country. Now, in a democratic country, therefore, it is the right of those people concerned to mind their own business in general.
So you are saying this Electoral Commission of Tigray Regional State is constitutional authority?
Sure. Of course. This is a constitutional authority because we have a constitution of ourselves. So now, the constitution contradiction comes only when it comes to the federal general. That if this contradicts with the federal constitution itself. But now we are not discussing about a contradiction between the federal and the regional constitution as such. That we are talking about the differences between the regional constitution in the order of some people from somewhere, some politicians, therefore. So Tigray is not going anywhere. Therefore, Tigray is here. Then Tigray is demanding to be governed by itself without anybody's interest or concern in general. Therefore, so the affairs of Tigray is the affairs of the people of Tigray only. Outside of this, therefore, simply it will be an imposition. An imposition which has been exercised in the past has not worked. And it was this imposition that people have fought and want to overthrow also during the 17 years rule. And therefore, why are we demanded to return back to that stage? Therefore, it is this constitutional because we have our own constitutional. So I'm not saying that we are not loyal to the country's constitution. But we are not talking about, we are even saying in Tigray, people must respect the constitution that we have agreed upon in China. Therefore, it's not about this. So somebody is saying that you cannot conduct an election. We will conduct. So we are conducting. Then if they are going to do it, therefore, it's not by legal means. It's by legal means, therefore. If it is illegal, then the people of Tigray have the right also to make their constitutional rights respected in China. Therefore, it's clear.
So, if it is constitutional, why is that somebody saying you don't have to conduct the election?
So that's, I think, the question is not for me. I will ask also the same question. Because that we better ask it together in general. That's what we are asking. Then, so what we have to do is simply to bring the contradictions closer. So it's narrower. So we have to heal the wound in general if we are going to live as a nation. So it's good that if we live like a people of 110 million together, for that we will have a larger market, we will have a larger democracy or something like that. This is something that is known. That Pan-Africanism is something that is even to be supported, not only in Ethiopia, but also even with all people of Africa. But you cannot practice Pan-Africanism in the interest of one or two groups of people. It must be as a result of the aspirations of the African people in general. That's the Africans must do it. Therefore, it is when it is conducted in this way that we will have peace, development, and whatever. Democracy can be mature in the final analysis.
Okay, how far participatory the election which is going to be held in Tigray would be?
Now, participatory in the sense is that when it comes to my commission, to which I am heading, now we have previously announced for the registration of the political parties that want to participate or to participate in the election in general. So we gave them 3 days. So as far as I'm concerned, then about 5 political parties and 11 individuals wanted to participate in the election process.
You registered?
Yeah, registered. So this is one thing, that's one of the stages. Therefore, it is these parties and individuals that we will finally decide for the election process once every formality is conducted in Channel. But participatory in the other words is we have prepared all the logistics and everything, so that we will start registrations, that we will conduct certain debates among the political parties, that all the necessary things that must be given to political parties must be given by government. So different forms of party-to-party committees, or the certain committee of all parties that are...
It's okay, we will come back to that.
Okay.
Okay, what were the legal requirements your commission used as a precondition to be fulfilled by these opposition parties you registered?
We didn't even change the criteria that was set in by the National
Federal
Election Board of Ethiopia. That we are using the same criteria. And we didn't even register or for accreditation of the parties. We have only accepted those political parties that have already been accredited permanently or temporarily by the Ethiopian National Electoral Board in general. So it is these parties that we have accepted. New parties have not come as a result because we have set that criteria. Parties that have had accreditation or full knowledge of the past Ethiopian government, they must bring their own certificates. So these credentials they must bring. So we have seen that. Otherwise, we have made it so simple in general. If they have registered this there temporarily or permanently, then we register them. Individuals were required only to bring certain signatures of a certain number of individuals who support them. Therefore, so that this has, according to the previous laws of Ethiopia, even the previous board criteria. So when they are disabled persons, then they require 750 persons as signing persons. But if they are not disabled or simply they are healthy in terms of physical or something like that, then they must bring 1,000 people who sign for them to get elected or to participate in the election.
The minimum requirements?
Minimum.
Okay. Let's discuss now about the election schedule.
Now, the election schedule has been prepared and we have been changing it accordingly. It is true that we are new, all of us are new to the job, and even establishing a new commission has been a new process for us. So we have recruited people, we have brought some persons from various offices based on the criteria that are set in by the rules and regulations of the commission. So we established it generally. Now, finally, it is these people who are managing it. Then, but one of the heaviest tasks during the election process, as I see it, is the preparation of logistics. So logistics is one of the heaviest tasks. Some of the previous logistical equipment that have been used by the Electoral Board of Ethiopia have been copied, and therefore that's similar things for registration cards, registration of electorate persons or something like that. All these different forms have been taken from the past. So this has been some of it translated into Tigrinya, and some of it have been the rules and regulations have been in Amharic, and therefore that this must have been translated into Tigrinya. And all these things have been done in very short period of time, and therefore this was why I said it was very difficult. But finally, then we have prepared all these things. We are in the process of printing all these materials, and we are in a tight schedule to finish this in according to the schedule that we have made. But when it comes to the general schedule, then when registrations will be started, when trainings will be given to the various people, the various persons who are directly involved or indirectly involved in the election observation and election administration. So all this has been put in a certain schedule. So finally, then we have invited political parties to give them orientation as well, and to discuss with them on those things that are in common to both of us or concern to us both. So we have discussed all this in between. And finally, I think we have managed to be okay. Therefore, I'm saying it's very difficult. So we are working day and night for this, and therefore, so but we will make it is what I hope. Therefore,
so what are the most critical challenges in this election? Just to mention some.
Critical challenges are, the preparation of all the logistics is one of the daunting tasks. There are about 50 types of forms that have been prepared by the national board. And therefore, for every act, then there must be certain forms. Therefore, when you hand over these things, there are forms or in every step there is. I think we had no alternative to change this at all. And I feel that all this might not have been necessary, but I think that there was no way to sit and think about reducing this into by half or so facilitating things in a faster way. Therefore, we are following the older way that is very long and tiresome, and therefore, so with all its safety requirements or something like that, therefore, so we are doing this. So this is one of the most challenging one in terms of logistics in general. Secondly, we have the different persons that are to manage the election. Now, in the management of the election, therefore, they have been elected from the lower bodies. So there will be more than 2,700 election posts in the region. Then 2,700 election posts mean that in every election post there must be 5 or 6 persons to manage. That is those who directly manage, observers, even more than that. So multiply it, this will be more than 10,000 or 12,000 people in general. Then checking all these people will be very difficult. So we are asked to be partisan. So it will be very difficult. But what we finally did is simply that we put all the names of these people in the website. So it is there for the parties to look at. Then the parties have areas of interest. If they find that there is one person whom they think is from a certain political party and who will not be neutral, then they can tell us, and therefore we can simply take an action on this, rather than mistrusting everything. Therefore, rather than simply saying that everything is null and void, and therefore, so we accept it. We have to trust also the government. So, but the trust of the government itself cannot be to the satisfaction, maybe to the political parties, and therefore there have been certain problems of suspicion between the different competitors. So their issue is whether the process can be conducted fairly and equally and justly. So in order to be just, therefore, those persons who manage, who observe, who administer the election process must be checked whether they are neutral or not neutral. Then this we have given it to the political parties, it's up to them. Even they can check us whether we are neutral or not. Therefore, if they have a say on it, then it is our mandate then to check, to go to the lower level and check and verify this. Therefore, that we will bring a satisfaction to them.
By the way, you're not being provided by the federal government with regard to the logistics for election.
No. Why will it give us? When it is saying that it should not conduct the election, I don't think that you'll expect that it will provide anything. Therefore, it is only saying, even yesterday, during this week, I've heard that the leader of the House Speaker in the Federation, leader of the Federation has been, House of Federation, has been saying that Tigray shall not conduct an election in Janan. But this is a one-man, mind you, that we have never even heard whether there has been a meeting by the different parties or something like that. Therefore, it is saying, simply writing a letter like any bureaucrat in general. Therefore, so demanding a region, a people, not to decide. But this is the leader or the speaker of the House of Federation that is meant to ascertain the rights of the federated regions of the country in general. And therefore, so that's why I have previously said that rather than widening the crack in between, therefore, it's better to discuss and to wisely decide on what should be done in a political way, on how to proceed with the legal things. Therefore, that people must speak politically in general. Therefore, that one cannot simply 1% or 2% or something like that, or a group of persons cannot say that you shall not, you should not, or something like that. Therefore, it is our right, we are saying, therefore. So people are ready to defend their rights. So it is we who must decide our own rights. We are not deciding on the rights of other people. That's right. We are not talking about other people. Therefore, why should they talk about a region that is conducting? And this is also very funny, that a region that is saying that it wants to organize elections is to be warned or to be punished by a higher entity. So it shows you that the democratic ways of doing things has become upside down in general, therefore. Whereas the top bodies must have been guardians of the process of the constitution, therefore, so that irrespective of what the constitution says, they are deciding that you should not do this, you should not do that in general. Therefore, but people are saying we are to manage the fate of our own people, our choice.
So you are running everything on your own logistics. And you said the pre-election preparation is in a good track, is the right way right now, right? But political parties should announce their symbols, right? So that they have to start campaign, in other words, right? For that reason, you should allocate airtime. So how are these things going on right now? Because do you think the time you are left with is enough to do all these things, just to mention a few?
I've said the time is short. I have admitted that the time is short.
I know, but my question is...
You could have been luxurious had there been more time, because I have justified why we are doing things like that. But in terms of campaigning, then officially it will be started after 5 days. So people will campaign. And that television, radio, and print media campaigning or discussions, debates will be started after 5 days. So people will talk their choice in general, and therefore we have been discussing about it today with the parties, whether they will accept the criteria by which we have we are going to manage the process of election. And therefore, they have been discussing it, and we have been accepting their feedback. Therefore, we are now to make a final decision on the guideline. Therefore, this guideline will work on all of them, that they have put their own interest, we have put our own ideas, so we have brought them to the discussion to all political parties. They have forwarded their ideas, and we are going to accept this, to consider this, and therefore give them the final decision by tomorrow.
Okay, this election must be free, fair, right? Democratic, peaceful. Of course, you have been mentioning about that earlier, but the time is, as we have discussed, is quite short. At the same time, you don't have the experience, right? This electoral commission at regional state level is new. So, what measures are you taking just to make it peaceful, transparent, democratic and fair?
Now that the parties have their own council or their own committee, so the parties discuss about party issues, party relations. So much of the things have been discussed also within them, what to accept, what not to accept, or something like that, and therefore, so this is a kind of negotiation and compromise within them. Whether the time will be enough, so I have admitted that it may not be enough, but it does not mean also that these parties are not known. They are earlier known by the people. That are they equally known is something else. Therefore, that because there has been limited access to media or something like that, that very many of them are also recently established, and therefore by new young people or something like that, and therefore these people have a certain interest on their region, that they are having different positions in terms of politics. There are people who opt for independence. There are people who opt for other kinds of ideologies, living with Ethiopia when the situation is possible or something like that. Therefore, there are people who are loyal to Ethiopia as well, also that who will decide that. This is something that is diversity of idea that within the parties. Therefore, you can say that there is diverse idea. Whether this diverse idea has been heard and whether people have had the time to digest about what has been said by the different parties is something that you may say is too short, inshallah. So they are known, but they are known only maybe in town, some of them, but some of them also in certain narrower area or something like that, maybe in the capital Mekelle or something like that. Some are also known widely, and maybe PLF is very much known. Therefore, all that this kind of background is known within the political parties. So bringing the gap narrower is a question of time rather than something to be done within this election period in general. But it's true that people must, or organized parties must get the utmost in order to show their programs to people, in order to reach people, as many people as possible. The other problem is that this is a period of pandemic. So this pandemic also limits the movement. Then the limitation on the movement or the bringing of people to a gathering in accordance to the laws that are passed by the regional government may hinder certain activities. So in order to compensate this, therefore, that we are opting for the television and radio. And the radio is to be heard by many rural people as well. Therefore, so we are saying that whether there can be enlarging the program for the rural population to hear the voice of the different parties, so that they will decide in a fair manner. So this is what we can do.
Could you know when the polling day would be, if decided?
Yeah, we have decided for some time. So we have presented the tentative date now. to the parties.
Okay, okay.
But many parties from this have asked for certain time, also more dates to be increased. They understand the problems that are confronting us as a region in general. Therefore, so for this, they are saying they recognize the problem, but also there is a problem on their part. There are maybe certain fear of reaching as many people as possible in general. So for this reason, we are going now to revise the date, and therefore, if it is revised, we will tell them the time. If not, then we will tell them, therefore. But we have discussed thoroughly on why we have decided that way. So maybe that this is not decided politically. In terms of politics, we have not been political as far as this is administrative for us. Political is simply that the regional issue is what is political as far as this is concerned. So this and that, or some kinds of discussions. But when it comes to the different political parties, they are all equal to us. We are not interested on who will be elected. Then this is what our non-partisanship is. So for this reason, we are going to decide. So we have told them our justifications, but they have also told us their reasons for the requirement or asking for more time. So we are having certain common understanding, I think. So according to this common understanding, then we will decide for the best.
Okay, what is your very dream with regard to this election that you are eager to see it come true?
Whether it's legal?
No. Just your personal dream that you are very eager to see it come true. Yeah.
No. I have already set in, so I have what some of the scientists say, simply that I have sold my soul to the company stories. Now, I have only put myself on the service of the commission.
Yes.
So making the commission succeed is my dream. It's not a dream for me, it's a program also. So then I wish that this is completed in a peaceful way, in a just way, something from which all of us can learn also more. And something that my dream is, I have told you earlier, but the winner must be Tigray in the final analysis. Not this party or that party. That we as Tigrayans must win. This is a Tigrayan affair, is what I'm saying, therefore. So nobody is to be concerned on that. So I don't want to interfere in the affairs of other people. Now, but we have to talk on those issues that are common to all of us. So when it comes to Ethiopia, maybe we'll discuss together in an equal manner. But when it comes to Tigray, then it will be the problem of the Tigrayans. Nobody will decide for Tigray. Therefore, if somebody will say that I will decide for Tigray, there will be a non-ending crisis, rather. So accepting what Tigrayans say for Tigray is what is the best, I think. Then accepting what Oromos will say for Oromia is the best for them. And accepting what the Amharas say for Amhara is also the best for them. This is what is the principle. Finally, we will set in a common principle that will bind us together. So issues that are of common to us in general, for how we form a national government, how we defend our country, how we develop our country, or something like that. We will have separations of power between the center and the region in general. Therefore, so if we do this, then that's why we are saying a federal system is the best system in Ethiopia. So no people must decide on the fate of other people in China. That other people does not mean that they are not Ethiopians. They are Ethiopians. But Ethiopians must decide on the interest of Ethiopia in China. But within Ethiopia, there are different peoples with different background, with different religions, with different language and other things. So for this is, so we have come to a new experience of forming a federation. A federation in which the affair of everybody must be decided by himself. Therefore, it's not the affair for another. If we do this, it does not bring unity at all. It will bring only a certain domination. And domination will not bring peace to the country ultimately, and therefore this is what we're saying. So one has the right to develop his culture, his language, his history, or try to learn his history, something like that. This is something that is given. I don't think that this is new to Ethiopians in general. So why should I learn from the others? If it is for knowledge, then I have to. Therefore, I can learn the culture, history of the Somalis, of the Oromos, that is of interest. But when it comes to something that is personal to the very existence of the people, that they have to decide about themselves in general. So they have certain common interests also that they will follow, that will be of benefit to all. The benefit of all the Ethiopians in general, therefore. So when they become Ethiopians, if it is. So this is how I see it. Otherwise, if we are going to put the interests of some people over the others, there will be something that is, there will not be any continuity of the unity of the country, which we may not like in general. So it is this what I'm saying.
So your very dream with regard to this election is just to see Tigray becomes a winner?
Yeah.
Anything that you would like to add, be it a message whatsoever, because I have already finished the questions that I have for today.
So I'm only passing my own message and what I have been interested. So it's only when we are open that we understand each other. We have had a glorious time together. We have had a good time together, but of course with some bad times as well, also in terms of political and other things. So that we are not going to live like the older days now. That it is a time when many people are educated. So reason must prevail now. The reason must bind us together. So the reason must be when we know what is of us and others in general, and therefore, so that everybody must be. Self-determination means also not only regional self-determination. Every individual must determine, he must free in general, therefore the personal freedom. So this is about freedom after all. Therefore, why is it a problem for my freedom? And it cannot be a problem, even it will be an advantage for you. A free person is a more better friend than a non-free person, if you see it. Therefore, so in this case, it's only the good things that we have to expect. Nobody is doing his own things in order to make others happy or sorry. That it's his own business. Therefore, it is only when he becomes happy that he will create happiness for you as well also. So that no two happiness must be clashing in general. Therefore, if we see it in a rational way, and I'm saying we have to see it like this. Therefore, if we develop that our reasons must be shaped in a way that one is enough for himself, so your very existence must be in terms of your concern to me in general, in terms of opposing or others to me in general. So you can be free, and I'm free. So when we are free, we will decide on freedom brings people closer in general, rather than enemies. Therefore, this is what we are saying. And as far as I'm concerned, I have not had any interest in government at all. But I have never been in government at all also. I have been an academician. Therefore, as an academician, I am an idealist as well, who teach people for the better, for the good things to achieve, for people to change, to grow. So it is in this way that my personality has been shaped. Therefore, I have never had any enemy or hatred towards any other people. How do I hate other people whom I don't know unless I am mad? Therefore, this is that people are bound together by love, by certain interdependence in general. Therefore, by certain concern to one another, not by hating or forcing like that. This produces us a cycle of certain things in general. Therefore, so I am a teacher, and I wish I remain all my life a teacher. Therefore, so that in this case, so it is not about it. In this case, I'm doing things in that manner with the background that I have had. So I want to convince people to do the right thing. So no teacher teaches the wrong way. That if he teaches the wrong way, he cannot be a teacher at all. So I am trying to do my thing as what I have experienced in the past. Therefore, this is what I'm doing.
Thank you very much indeed for being the guest of this program once again.
Thank you.
Teacher Muluwork.
Thank you.
Okay.